land of the twisted, where madness resides. Monsters roam free, lurking deep inside. It's a horror soaked symphony, a macabre delight. As the beat drops heavy, bringing fear to the light. Witches cast spells, warlocks summon their might. On this haunted stage, where nightmares take flight. So gather round, freaks and beasts of every kind. Let the darkness unite, leave your fears behind. Welcome to the Freak Show.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is. Welcome back to the HHE podcast. We've been away for a while, but we are back because we've just spent two and a half weeks in 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks in Florida. So we've been to Halloween Horror Nights, and this is our recap and what do you call it? Review of the event. There's no Joe because he's buggering off to Florida next week, so he won't be on the show because obviously we don't want to spoil it for him. So if you are listening to this, Joe, turn it off now. Everyone
Actually,
else,
anybody.
do not turn it off. Do us a favour if you are listening to this on any podcast app of choice, give us a 5-star review. Follow us on all our socials at HHEPod and at HHEPod1 on TikTok. And also, if you are watching this on YouTube, smash that thumbs up button, hit that like button. Follow us, subscribe to us. It doesn't cost you a damn penny. So with that intro out the way, let me say I can't do this alone. Well, I could, but I'd be boring shit and no one will want to listen to it. But I do have another podcast host of choice. He's currently looking away from the camera. If you're watching this on YouTube, he'll explain why. But my best mate Phil is over here. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, everybody, and sorry we've been away for ages, but it came to a point where we didn't want spoilers, and then we got back, and for 2 weeks I was really ill, so that didn't help. And yeah, you see me looking this way, new setup. I've got a DJI Osmo Pocket camera. I'm pointing at it if you're watching on YouTube. So much better than using the laptop pile of crap. But if I'm looking this way, it's probably because I'm taking notice of Simon on the laptop. So I've still got to play about with the layout. I've got to figure out how to put the laptop so I can look at the camera and the laptop at the same time.
All you really need to do is put the camera towards the side of where the thing is.
No, because it does it. It needs to go right in the middle of the camera to show this beautiful T-shirt.
No, put the laptop to the side.
It couldn't fit now, mate. Anyway, especially with the mic, I'd have to mess about a lot. By the way, people, if I keep on looking that way, it's because me dog is unfortunately had a flea infestation, and I've had to sort it out this weekend. So first he had his dog shampoo, then I've been combing him with the Nick combs, and now today the special tablets are showing up. Well, apparently, if it's true, kills the fleas off all of them in 24 hours, and it's a better treatment. So we're going to give it a go. But there you go, personal life. We're bringing it to you.
Yeah. So if you are watching this on YouTube, you probably might know I've got a bit of a red nose. I have the same cold flu thing that Phill got. It must be the airplanes. Turn the fucking aircon back on properly. It's a bit of a rant this, but I remember going flying back in the 90s when you used to be able to smoke, and I never got ill on a plane. Now I'm ill every time I get off a plane. Coincidence? I don't think so. But anyway, that's the rant over. So you are listening to this for our Halloween Horror Nights 2024 or Halloween Horror Nights 33 review. And where do we start? Should we just do our top 10? Do it in the top reverse order, talk about the houses as we speak of them? Or should we just talk about them and do it afterwards? What do you want to do?
I reckon we should talk about them and then get into our list. People may get a slight idea from what we say, but they won't know what order they're going to be in. Also, I just want to point out, people, there's no bad house. No. Just some weren't as good as others. How about that?
Some unfortunate situations in some of the runs, and I think it was also due to some complications in the houses as well. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's not start on too negative. We'll start on negative. Let's start on the scare zones because I just want to get them out of the way because
there's only two.
Well, that's what I have done a top 5. I've got my original hype list here. I've got them up here. I did have Swamp of the Dead as number 1, Torture Fur, Duality of Fear, Demon Queens, and Enter the Blumhouse. And it's now Torture Fur number 1, Swamp of the Undead number 2, Demon Queens because that is the only third scare zone, Enter the Blumhouse because it was kind of something, but Duality of Fear, what a load of crap. I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry if you do like that area. But the entrance to the park, I said it, it's not the best place to put a scare zone. And to have just random guys with chainsaws, I don't think it works. But
That was it a scare zone or it was just a
it was just a walkthrough,
opening?
wasn't it, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really was
You
a
did get
complete
the
waste of
ceremony
time.
though. You did get Surreal and Sinister doing their bit if you were there earlier on. And they did come up now and then onto the big stanchion at the top. So I just didn't. It was just absolutely clusterfuck to be fair. 'Cause it was too busy.
Language,
People.
Simon.
Well,
Language.
I don't care anymore. It's one of them. It wasn't the best location. There wasn't many sets. So obviously at number five. Blumhouse was just a selfie zone. Um, really, nearly all the same characters. Which to be fair, the characters did do a good job. But
Right, I can see what order I've got it in now. Bloody hell, yeah. Demon Queens was five. It's not number five. In all
yeah,
fairness, no, not Demon Queens. No, Duality and Fear was five. Demon Queens was four. Torture Fair was three. Swamp the Undead was two. And Bomb House is one. I can tell you that's changed.
yeah, definitely. Like I say, Enter the Blumhouse was a selfie zone, which we knew it was going to be.
What we predicted.
Demon Queens was actually not a bad scare zone, to be fair. It's the one I actually went through probably the most because of where it was in. That's the route I usually take. Uh, was a bit sparse though when it came to the scare actors in it. Where it
Slightly
bit
too
like,
dark. Slightly too dark as well, I thought.
well, I did the last night. I did it on the Sunday before I came home. It was lit up a little bit better with more of the purples and blues. So it was the lighting was a little bit better. So it did seem to get. I think they were listening to advice and listening to people's feedback, so they did light it up a bit. Swamp of the Undead looked great, complete and utter car crash when it came to being a busy area when it was, but they didn't listen. Should have used dry ice, not fog. Dry ice would have dropped to the floor and made it look like a swamp instead of just pumping in loads of fog to make it really thick.
Yeah, I have a theory to this as my big fat belly on this new webcam shows a lot. That's why I keep on moving up instead of leaning down. But I think the problem with the low dry ice or fog is it was quite wet in there all the time. And I think there were people slipping. So I think they had a problem with that. I also noticed when I first went to it, it was pretty dark in there and they
Yeah.
lit it up a lot better the second week.
Yeah,
So
they are always evolving, but like I said, if you're using dry ice, you don't really need to use dry ice. You could just use a bucket of ice. Just needs topping it up every so often with a fog machine in it. And as soon as the fog hits them pipes, it feeds its way down. It's a cheap effect to do. You just got to keep topping up the ice. Which that obviously, if they have that on the back end behind the scenes, you're not going to see all the water coming out. But yeah, it was just a bit unfortunate. It wasn't dry ice. It was more just fog. And
so
then
there was some
sometimes I think you
misses.
went through it once you couldn't even see, could you?
No, but that's not as bad as the last couple of years before.
Mm.
In all fairness, as I said, they sorted out. There was some misses. I think the treehouse thing was a complete miss.
Yeah.
They should have made that bigger and more sturdy and had a scare actor in there. Um, this is one of my pet peeves. I want to get into this quickly. Universal's podcast. Don't release the stories after the event started,
Oh,
like
just
towards the
don't.
end of September, because then I've gone through it and then I've heard the story afterwards and I'm like, well, I can't appreciate it now because I'm not going back.
Well,
Get them stories out before the event.
I'll go into that later on about the releasing of stuff, which I'm on the other fence of it. I don't think they should be doing it full stop. But there's a reason for that, and I'll explain that when we get to it. So I think we both come out and say that Torture Fair is our favourite scare zone or
I don't know. I haven't done my list
zone.
yet. I can tell you my list off the top of my head because I never did a list for this one, but
Yeah.
I don't really
Well,
care about the scare zones because they weren't scare zones. The front of the park rubbish. I would say Blumhouse was fourth. Uh, S- S- Demon Queens was third. Swamp of the Undead two, and Torture Fair was number one for me.
exactly the same as mine. Um, the reason why Torture Fair, I didn't get to see much of the show bits of it because to be honest, I didn't spend that much time in the scare zones because if you did see me over there, I actually have got a bad hip at the moment. So some nights I had to use a wheelchair and I use a walking stick because I can't
If you want to
stand.
see him with his walking stick, go and check out the Aventura Hotel
Yeah,
vlog by Phill G Travel. He's in it,
yeah. Also, if you are there, go on to Facebook because there's an unofficial Universal Aventura Hotel group now.
run by
Search
him.
for it and you find it. But like I said, Torture Fair, I didn't see that much, but we were stood behind the stage. We were sat behind the stage, and it only just clicked when I was rewatching some of the videos. It was actually surreal. Or is it surreal? Not surreal.
You had the
What's the other one?
Queen. You had
Got surreal and what's the other one called?
I don't know,
The two torture one. Well, the whoever the torture one is.
Duality,
Eh?
Duality and Fear. I don't know what their names were.
Surreal and sinister. Sinister,
That's it.
that's it. Sinister.
Well, I call them
Sinister.
Duality and Fear, and then have the scare zones and different the
I know.
actors. I mean, the
Don't
whole
matter
thing's a
then.
mess.
Yeah. But it was sinister. She was actually stood at the backstage, ready to go on to do a bit, and I just clocked eyes and I looked at her. I just give her one of them little wave like that. And she looked at me and just went like that with her eye, with her fingers, looked at her eyes and said, "I'm looking at you like
So
this."
I had to look at the screen there to see what he's on about.
Yeah, and that's actually that actually thought, well, I'm getting one-on-one interaction with a scare actor, which is not actually doing the job. And I thought that put it up a little bit because that's what I have found. A lot of the scare actors try to do
Do
one-on-ones.
we talk about the scare actors and Blumhouse? And do you know what I'm getting at?
No, I have no idea what.
Right. So I know I coined the joke through the whole year, called it Halloween Family Nights, but
Yeah.
it came evident that is what it is now because in Blumhouse there was a young girl, would you say 4 or 5 years old, maybe younger, who was dressed up as Megan, and the scare actor stopped being Megan. Now that's fine if you want to do that; it doesn't bother me. But at the same time, I think if this is meant to be a horror event, if it's too scary for children, you shouldn't come out of your thing. Children just shouldn't be there. I don't mind children being at the event if they can handle this sort of stuff, but if you have to come out of the scares to do photos and that or not scare them, my personal opinion, they shouldn't be there.
Well, we'll go on to that. That can be like a side thing at the end when it comes to
By
how
the way,
personal.
what was the point of the stupid Blumhouse guy, the road worker? He was literally in, I think, one of the what's it called? Films. I forgot what it's called, The Purge. He was literally in the film for about 20 seconds. The one with the
I think,
helmet on the stage. He was rubbish. He just looked crap. It's like, get him off. That looks like something I would do down the street myself.
to be fair, mate, it was just to try and get people to eat up the crowds, and it's one of those. If
Yeah, but
people
he
were,
wasn't getting any photos because no one cared about him.
it is what it is, mate. That's
And
one
talking
thing
about
that you.
photos, the two main ones have them at opposite ends, not next to each other.
Well, aye. Well, I think they learnt that. I think they've learnt that for this time. I think they moved it around a little bit. But yeah, scare zones were not really that good this year. But
Definitely
it's
cost
part of the
cuts.
event. Oh, it's part of the event as well, isn't it? The scare zones have not been the major thing since probably 25, to be fair. The
There
scare
was
zones.
there was one win though in New York. We didn't have the over the top high scream,
No, I
so that
will say this though, the volumes on Wednesday and Thursday were great. Friday and Saturday, they turned the volume up to 20.
well you
It
hear
seemed to always get louder on a Friday and Saturday, and I did
Friday
not
and
like that.
Saturday you did hear a lot of screaming, but that was youngsters running
Yeah, but
around.
no, they turned the volume of the music up in the scare zones as
They
well.
had to because
Everything.
otherwise, yeah, because otherwise all we'd hear is them little
Yeah,
youngsters. That's a nice
yeah.
way to put it. Youngsters screaming their heads
Well,
off. By the way, don't run in the park. I know there's a few weeks left in the event. Stop bloody running.
right. Anyway, let's get off that and let's get on to the scare zones. So I'll tell you what, houses, sorry. Um, First thing first, actually, I will say this. We both did the unmasking, didn't we? You did the six house, I did the three house.
Yeah.
And I'll openly admit it, I can see why people do the unmasking before they do the event. Because the three houses I did, I actually appreciated them more after the event is finished because of what we went through in the house, through this unmasking.
What was your
So
three again? Was it triplets of terror?
Triplets of Terror, Slaughter Cinema 2, and Museum of Deadly Exhibits.
Yeah, two of them. Trust me, he didn't do it. It wouldn't have done a difference for me. They were pants.
Well, the behind the scenes has made him a little bit better for me, and
Yeah,
you'll
it
probably
made
get that from.
made them a little bit better, but they're still rubbish. I went from. I've even heard stories to them on the podcasts now, and they're still rubbish in my opinion. They
Well,
were the two. Well, they're not the two worst. There's a little hint.
anyway, right. So I'll go with the reverse order of my hype list. So my number 10 for my hype list was A Quiet Place. So what did you think about A Quiet Place, Phil? Do you think they managed to pull it off?
Um, I think there was more hype they gave us, and they didn't deliver.
Yeah,
I think it was okay. It's just that the hype they gave with these new ideas, I
it,
didn't really notice any of them.
I'll give her a shout out. If you watch Jackie's video or the walkthroughs of the houses, and you go watch the bit of The Quiet Place, that's how the house would work. It was silent. She was silent. Sam was silent. There was nobody else with her. It works because you could hear everything. You did,
And
but when
that's
we
the
went through,
problem.
all I heard was people screaming, shouting, laughing, and it's
And
like,
that's the problem. You
yeah.
can't have a house like that unless you're gonna
So
I would have made it an extra house, and I would have made people pay extra to be pulsed for it.
yeah, well, I can see what they tried with it, but I personally don't think it worked.
Yeah, again, that's down to the podcast because only people who would know try to be quiet in there would be proper horror night fans who were told to.
Yeah,
But if you're just someone who's just shown up to the event, you don't know them bloody rules. So why are you going to be quiet?
I know. Anyway, moving on, my number 9 was Triplets of Terror.
Interesting, because that was my number 10.
Yeah. I actually did quite enjoy this house. It was the story behind it was better after I'd heard it from the Unmasking the Horror Tour. It made more sense, and then I appreciated it more after that. But when you go through it, and this is where my gripe is now, I shouldn't have to go on an Unmasking tour or listen to a podcast or listen to extra stuff to get the story. I went to Halloween Horror Nights years and years ago, and the original content, I never had to research stuff to find out what was going on in the house.
Yeah, again, this is where the trailers are
And this
missed
is,
as well.
yeah, but this is where the creating this has kind of gone away a little bit from what it used to be to what it is now. Which I don't get me wrong, it's still the sets are great, the actors are doing the best job they possibly can. But when you're trying to tell a story and then you're having to listen to stuff before or go on and Unmasking the Horror Tour to find out the story of what this house is all about, it shouldn't really do it. It shouldn't have to do it. But that's my gripe with it. But I did enjoy this one. I enjoyed the birthday part of it as it was slowly going through time, as you could see, and the masks were getting smaller on the characters because obviously they were getting older, so they was using the same masks and the masks were getting smaller. Nice little touch that they added.
Here's a big gripe. Why didn't we start off with the podcast studio to tell
Yeah,
people this is a podcast about these guys?
yeah, that's what I mean. If you're
Oh,
going to do
you
it,
got
do
halfway
it.
through, all of a sudden it's a podcast studio. You're like, what? What's this here for?
Yeah. But it's yeah, but they explain that they're doing these investigators looking into what these kids have done and what the birthday coming up. But you don't know any of that unless you're on the masking or whatever. And that's why I said if they're gonna do all these backstories for it, release them before the event or tell the story better so you don't have to do all these things.
Well, this is my idea. So that house for the Triplets of Terror, there was a podcast. So the day you release the poster, because you're not doing trailers anymore, that's fine.
Yeah,
Why
release
don't you
a
release
podcast.
the podcast exactly same time?
Yeah,
It's not hard.
simple. Yeah. So the next one. I think you might figure out where this one's going with me. Was Major Sweets Candy Factory.
But this way, where that was yet again, a lot of people, you got the podcast, and I also got the unmasking, what gave me a bit more love for that one than I expected.
Yeah. I did like that they had the manual triggers in it, that they brought some of them back. If you're going to do them in all the houses, don't just do them in one house 3 times over.
I liked the layout as well, because obviously this was in
Yeah.
Fast and Furious, and they just turned it around
They,
sideways, so it
they
was
made
just one house.
they made use of the space well. I just didn't I just don't like the story. I just don't. The character of Major Sweets is okay. I know they've expanded on it with the newer
Taffy.
Usher guy. That's it, Taffy. But the first two rooms, I'm seeing just normal people, and then when I'm walking through, I'm just seeing people like kids
He must have
doing
saw his
nothing.
wife.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what you saw his wife, him, and then
what you need,
Taffy.
what I figured out is she's actually the brains behind everything.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. If that was more, well, why is it called Major Sweets Candy Factory
Because I
when
suppose
she's
they say behind every good man is a strong woman. Behind every evil fat man is an evil woman. I don't know. Okay,
but
explanation.
yeah, it could be. But don't get me wrong.
I'm
Like I
fat.
said, there was not. It wasn't a bad house. I just didn't get it, and I couldn't get it from the podcast. I'm going through it. I just couldn't understand what was going on.
Hold on,
Same as
are we on your hype list or are we on your
no,
final list?
I'm on my hype list. I'm not on my
Okay.
actual final list. I'm on my hype list, going backwards, just making it a bit
Okay.
easier. So I've got it's got some clarity where I'm going. Um,
So I'll read the mine out all quickly once you've done yours.
yeah. So the next one I had on my list was Monstrous: The Monsters of Latin America. This was actually my first house of the event,
Annoying.
and again, I did like the way when it was introducing the monsters at the beginning of each section. You had the monster like you had the succubus at the beginning, then you had whatever that weird Freddy Krueger ripoff was. Sorry, people.
I'm not sure you got a weird Freddy Krueger ripoff when the story's a lot older than Freddy Krueger, but I get what you
Yeah,
mean.
but you know what I mean. It looks like Freddy. It looked like a Freddy Krueger mask, to be fair. And then obviously the bird woman or bird thing at the end,
Oh, that's not the
which
end. It's the end what
yeah,
spoils the house.
yeah. But like I said, that to me was the end because that's where
Yeah.
it should have ended. But the animatronic in there was fantastic.
Oh,
The
brilliant.
actors
That's
were
from Hollywood,
very good.
wasn't it?
Sorry?
That was from Hollywood, that part.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
shipped
that's what I'm
over.
saying. Yeah. But that was a very good animatronic. The house was very well paced, I thought. Did have an issue going in because don't know if you know this, but we had Express and I scanned in on at the entrance and we went straight to that house. It had a 25-minute queue, and when we got to be scanned, it didn't work because we had to wait 15 minutes because the ticket was already scanned and it wouldn't allow another scan for the first 15 minutes. I think it's something to do with
Interesting.
Universal's weird system. So that just shows how quickly we got into that house from entering the park. Um, so yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought the aesthetics of the house was good. Did like the way it went through. He had that like skull face guy, but the one he was trying to narrate of what was coming up.
Yeah, he was a real actor at the beginning, and then at the end they bought a spirit Halloween robot to do the job.
Oh yeah, now yeah, I've just remembered it now. Yeah,
Yeah, how bad that ending was. And that tomb actually says something like you or it's meant to be basically saying
yeah,
we
because it
died as well.
literally yeah, I'm just remembering now because it was in the corner, wasn't it? And he just went like that at the end and
Yeah.
just looked at you.
It was
Yeah,
such a spirit Halloween job. It was, come on, Universal. I know you have to cut backs, but if you have to cut back that far, I'd rather you put the event up $10 per person and get us a decent thing.
yeah. So let's move on to the next one. Um, that was on my hype list was Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Surprised me that it was actually quite low on my hype list, but
I had hype for this.
and it moved. I'll just say that I will say it moved on my hype list. It was number six. It was in the bottom half. It did move. Whether that went up or down, you decipher. But I'll just say this: if I could steal anything from that house, I would be stealing all the mini puffs. I'm sorry. If I could steal anything, because they were absolutely adorable.
What would I steal? What would I steal? Think I would steal the outside of the firehouse. I thought that looked phenomenal.
Mm. Yeah, I just like the way the mini puffs were. They were just
Yeah,
everywhere. Some moved, some didn't, and yeah, it
there
was a
must have been thousands in there. They were all
yeah
over the place.
yeah. But it was a fun house. There was a lot of stationary stuff. I did do a couple of runs on that, and my second run was a bit poor because there was very little scare actors in it. Because as you walked in, there was Ray there, but not the kid. smashing the watch, and it's still had the audio going off for him smashing the watch.
Yeah, but that kid was just like the second Frozen Empire movie. He was a complete waste time in the
Yeah,
house.
but
He didn't need to
the
be there.
audio went off for him. Sorry, lady, I didn't mean to smash your watch, and he wasn't there. So the audio went off, but he wasn't. It just didn't. It completely took me out of it.
I'll tell you
But
what's just gone off. My dog has just farted. Oh my
oh,
God, that's off. Oh,
Ace, that boy. Do you want to open the door? Do you want to pause for a minute?
no, out with it.
Uh, but yeah, it was a fun house. It was there wasn't many skirts in it, but it was uh a very upbeat house, should we say? I did like the Frozen room, the second room you went into.
And what I liked about it, because it was is it the 40th or 50th anniversary of Ghostbusters?
83, so 40th last year.
40th, there were some parts in there when we had callbacks to the original Ghostbuster movies as well.
Well, actually, Ghostbusters 2 as well, because you do see the slime was there. Vigo, well, Ray Vigo was there, not Vigo, but it was Ray Vigo. Because I don't think they could get the likeness for that guy. Uh, but yeah, there's some callbacks to the older films as well. Mixture of good and old and new, and it works. I think they actually chose that. I think they chose well choosing that rather than Afterlife.
I think what they did as well, they had bits of the movie, but they had creative license as well.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
that helped that house a lot.
yeah, they definitely did. So, on to number 5 on my list of hype, Eternal Bloodlines. Now, this one definitely moved. Um, I
It
think
moved from mine, but not far.
it moved a lot on mine. Um, what can I say? I've now got the same feeling as Phill for what he was doing with his hype list. If you didn't listen to the podcast or read about it, you didn't know what the hell was going on, and it was just meh.
Yeah, this
It
was
was
in the
just meh.
unmasking
It was,
horror,
yeah, it was.
and it made me hate it even more.
Oh, so actually made it worse. But yeah, it just wasn't. It was literally the Bride of Frankenstein every fourth scare actor.
She didn't need to be there. I think we needed to see more Dracula's daughter because I think she looked brilliant.
Mm,
Frankenstein. What if this was a continue-on story from the last one? What we missed the Bride of Frankenstein, and he was a complete waste of space, really. Yeah, it was different. And it's probably my worst Universal Monsters house I've ever been through.
yeah, I know a lot of people are loving it, but I'm in the same boat as
What I'm
Phil
hearing
now.
on other podcasts.
Mm. But I'm starting to get. We need something fresh with these
I told
monsters,
you.
which I think we are going to get the fresh side of it when when Epic
I
Universe
personally
opens.
think is it's like The Walking Dead. You can slightly change the characters. You can put the females in, the males in. You can put them in different scenarios. But the be all and end all, it's the same thing every year, and it's burnout. They're not
Yeah,
rubbish. I probably would enjoy that house if it come out in 2 3 years time. But it's a burnout. You know what you're getting with Universal Monsters.
yeah. Um, and we move on to the next one, which on my hype list was quite high. Uh, didn't
Number
live
you
up
at?
to that expectation. It was the Museum of Deadly Exhibits. Uh, hmm, what can I say about this one? I did the unmasking on it, and the unmasking actually made me feel better because now I actually know where the scare actors that should have been. Because every time I went through the last 3 rooms, there was zero scare actors. It was literally attendant, attendant, attendant. So
Can I give my
from the
positive?
boat scene, I didn't get any scare actors.
Can I give a positive?
Go
Couple. One, I liked the queue going through Simpsons, especially if it was raining.
Yeah.
And two, the outside looked really good.
Hmm. To be honest, when I did the Unmasking the Horror Tour, that was one of the better ones, and it's one that we could take most of our. There was a few rooms we couldn't take pictures in, which they all say you'll know this if you've done them. They say cameras up or cameras down. You can take pictures in some rooms and some you can't. During that one, most we couldn't take pictures in the boat scene, which was unfortunate, and the Japanese scene. But we knew where the scare actors should have been, and it kind of made it feel a little bit better for me. So Yeah, it was definitely at the bottom of my list when after the first run of going through them, and now it's slightly moved a little bit, but we'll come to that when we get to it.
Okay. So I don't want to say much about it. I wasn't a fan of the house, unfortunately. I think it was a bit of a dud.
Yeah, so we're moving on to the next biggest IP, or should we say probably the IP of
So
the
what number are
event.
we for? You're four in
It's
your
number
hype.
three on it was number three
Right,
on my hype
right.
list. Insidious, the further. Um, yeah, this is how Halloween Horror Nights houses should be. It's plain and simple.
Yeah, this jumps up a lot of mine.
Yeah, this was one that was in the top three, and it's still in the top three. That's a little bit of a spoiler for you, uh, but it was definitely a highlight of the event, and it's what the event needed. It needed something like this to get people scared again because I did see people dropping to their knees. They were that terrified of it, especially when you got ping ponged halfway through that house. It was relentless. It just never stopped. And that's what
But
that's what a house should be. It shouldn't be where you go through a curtain, you walk through nice and gentle, and you go, "Oh, look at this fantastic see, let's see, look at this." But in that, you're going bang, screw actor in your face, round the corner, bang, screw actor in your face again, bang, screw actor, bang, screw, bang, 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 literally all the way through the house.
it felt like
Plus,
they
it
had
looked really good.
creative license
Yeah,
because they weren't doing the same thing every time. Um, did the unmasking horror here? This was actually a really good one. So we had this lady at the front, and she was telling everyone that she's scared of houses. So we've got our obviously the person showing us around, and we're in a part of it, and I'm starting to see someone in the background wearing the overalls as well, and I'm like, I swear I'm seeing someone quite short with red hair. And some other blokes, yeah, I've seen her as well. So we've got to the curtain part, where red cut the curtains are. We're all standing there, and all of a sudden the lady's at the front, and then all of a sudden the what are they called to the people on the RIP tours and that? What do we
tour
call them?
guides.
Tour guides, right? And I didn't know if that had a special Halloween name. I
No,
think it
just
would
a
have.
tour guide.
Anyway, she rips the curtains open, rah, scares the living daylights out of the woman. It was just brilliant.
Uh,
I can't
yeah.
remember her name, but anybody knows she was a quite short lady girl, sort of reddy hair. I would say like Becky Lynch.
Yeah, I think she was my tour guide. I'll
Oh,
send you a
cool.
picture. I'll send you a picture after. I can't remember her name, but she's got a British boyfriend because he lives over there now, and he was on the tour with us, our British husband. But I'll send you a picture afterwards, and
Find out.
yeah, yeah. I think it was Macy. I think she was called.
I can't bloody
Yeah.
remember names. Mate, I
Anyway,
can barely
uh,
remember people's names at work. I've been
I
there for
know,
10 years.
I know. So we'll quickly get through these two houses, and then we're gonna have to go for a quick commercial break.
Yeah, get your 10
Um,
houses, then I'll quickly shout my list.
yeah. So on two on my house was Slaughter Cinema 2.
I
It,
liked
it
it.
it delivered. It delivered on
Mm.
exactly what I thought it was going to do, and it still had nods to the other slot cinema as well. So I I,
And
I
did it
enjoyed it.
have hints at the end as well?
Yes,
Maybe for sort of cinema free. I don't really want
potentially.
to give it away too much. But yeah, it was a good house. My favourite too, and I don't think it was everyone's favourite. I think a lot of people like the punk rockers, but I think the room was too short for me to like them.
Hmm.
My favourite two things were actually the jester at the front because he just made me laugh. He sort of
Yeah, Jester
reminded me of
murdered.
Art the Clown.
Yeah.
From and the Santa Claus stuff. I love
Well,
Christmas and horror put together.
I enjoyed
What
them.
makes Terrifier 3 brilliant?
Yeah, but I prefer. I actually my two favorite rooms were the cyborg one because it reminded me of the thing. Especially if you looked up. If you didn't look up, you know what I'm on about. If you do
What
look up,
yeah, the
the
robot
the
thing at the top,
robot
yeah.
human thing, and the other one was oh shit, what's it called? The underground bit, which a lot of people don't realize that was actually radioactive clowns. It was actually quite because we
Do you
did
know
the
what, that
masking,
yeah,
we
that
did
bit's
the
gone
masking on
totally
that.
off my head for them to see. I've already forgot them.
Yeah, but that's what I mean because it was so dark. But because I did do a masking on it, it was pitch black in there when there's no lights on it. Then that house had no lights in it at all. We had to go through that with torches. It was mental, and yeah, that definitely went up on my well. It was number two on my hype list, so it's still up there. The final house, the one that I had
Simon's
as
hype
my
one.
my hype list, number one was Goblin Feast. All I say, if they had the first three rooms and kept doing that, it would still be possibly up at the number one spot. But the village bit in the middle just didn't make sense.
Do you know what? I love the village bit, and that's probably because I had my photos in there and that, and I could see it with all the lights on, and it looked absolutely brilliant. The whole house looks brilliant
Yeah.
with the lights on. Um, my biggest gripe with it is a bit different from you. I think it deserved a soundstage. I think it deserved to be bigger. It needed a
Probably
grander
did.
stage.
Yeah. It probably did, but like I say, sometimes them smaller houses like that actually work. And
Yeah,
it was
again,
goblin after goblin after goblin, but it weren't repeats. They were all
Goblin
different
King.
goblins.
Goblin King was cool at the end. I like that robot. But is it the Goblin Mayor guy? I never got him. I always saw him as I was walking out the door. So the
Oh, at
very
the
last
end.
skinny guy. Yeah, I
Yeah.
never got him.
I got him. We also got the hand moving, which is a nice little
Yes,
Easter egg.
yes, I got that working. It's
Um,
like Slimer and Ghostbusters. I got that working loads of times. So
yeah. So yeah, that's the
right, my quick
houses.
list.
Perfect. Yeah. Go on.
A hype
What
list.
your
Yeah,
hype
see,
list
it's
was?
all about Simon. See, people he doesn't care about anybody else's. Number 10, I was Triplets of Terror. Number 9, I was the Universal Monsters. 8 was Goblin's Feast. 7 was Museum. 6 was Major Suite. 5, A Quiet Place. 4, Insidious. 3, Ghostbusters. 2, Monstrous, and 1, Slough Cinema. And there has been changes.
Yeah, it's definitely been some changes of mine as well. So what we'll do, guys, we're running out of time on this bit. So what we'll do, we'll just have a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
Christ the Lord.
And just like that, Phil's been blessed.
I have seen the light.
So guys, yeah, after I don't know what Phil's put in there, probably put nothing, but if we have whatever the commercial break was, we are gonna go through
Nothing.
our final lists of Halloween Horror Nights. So these will be our official top 10 after we've experienced the event. Obviously we'll get Joel's when he comes back. So should we go 10 to 1 alternate?
No, let's go 3 to 9 to 7 to 4. That'd be awkward. No, yeah,
You know,
let's go from the one we least enjoyed. See. I'm learning
yeah,
people to
yeah. Well, right, straight away, my least favorite house of the event was Eternal Bloodlines.
I join you. And that was second to bottom for me. So what
Yeah,
does that tell you? Hype man knew.
yeah. Well, I've said I've always been a big advocate for Universal Monsters, and this one just let it down a bit. I know there's a lot of people out there who I have met and had chats with them. If he listens to this, he's probably going to kill me. But Matt, I'm sorry, mate. He just wasn't for me this year. Eternal Bloodlines. I know we are
From
both massive Universal Monster fans, but yeah, it just didn't do it for
Well,
me this year.
as I said, the consensus I've been listening to 365 Fear Beer and that, and they've all said the same. Rush of Fear. Um, it's just meh.
Yeah. So that is number 10 on the event. So number 9 for me, I don't think this will be Phil's number 9, but for me, it was Major Sweets, Candy Factory.
No, mine's a bit further up.
Yeah.
Um,
Just because of the way it was. I just didn't get the storyline of it. It was one of the better ones in Fast and Furious Q, but yeah,
it's
just
better
wasn't me.
Chucky. Um, so my number 9 was a museum deadly exhibits. Um, I honestly wish they went the route everyone wanted when you would have a proper night of the museum style of vibe. I get what they did, but unfortunately, it just didn't work.
Well, I might as well keep it going
My favourite scene, though, was the boat room scene, if that makes sense.
in the
With the
museum. Yeah,
Yeah, that was my favourite scene in the whole thing. That was
yeah,
probably the closest thing to a proper museum there was in there, and that was my favourite. So
yeah.
it's just
So
taste.
yeah, speaking of that, that is my number 8, Museum of Deadly Exhibits, and the only reason
Wow.
why it wasn't my worst one, because obviously I had that terrible run through it twice, was because of the unmasking. So I am now an advocate for say doing the unmasking. It does help the event. Whether to do it before the event starts is to be questioned, but I still actually think if you could get yourself hyped up more for a house if you do the event before, but then when you do the event and it's not the same. because she explained where our scare was supposed to be in the house. So I was imagining it as I was going through it. So it did bump it up a little bit. Not much, but it did bump it up from.
Bump it up.
So what was your number eight then?
My number eight was no shock, and it's for one of your Mask into the Horror free house tour, was Triplets of Terror. As I said, it's no good telling me this story after I've been to the event. That's
Yeah.
going to happen to a lot of people who have to go early to the event. Uh, it wasn't really explained in the house that well. I sort of figured out it was a podcast. If you weren't taking much notes, you wouldn't notice they were growing up in it. Most people wouldn't notice because they're rushing through it.
Mhm.
The scares are okay. Was that where some of my favourites have been the last few years, like Blood Moon and all them sort of ones.
Yeah,
I
it's one
think,
of the
yeah.
sound stages at the
See,
top.
I
Yeah,
feel like this one could have swapped around with Goblin's Face. This would have been better in the tent.
possibly. Yeah. But like saying, there's a running theme to it. Like one of the brothers collects heads, and then when you get towards the end of the house, there's a bag of heads at the end of the thing. So if
Who
you don't know it's
knows?
there, you don't know it's there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things. So yeah, that was Phil's number eight. So my number seven. This surprised me that I put it down here. Well, actually, it's not surprised because it's actually the same spot as my hype list. Monsters of Latin America was number seven for me. And
Number seven.
I think it's just the Q bit does still irritate me. Having that massive part of a soundstage as part of a queue, but uh, just the way I think there's slightly better houses out there than Monstrous, to be fair.
See, I like that, but number seven was Quiet Place. It just, unless you could get polls for it, and you said and you knew the
Yeah,
rules of being quiet and that, it just didn't work. The I felt like I would have rather had less of them monsters and more money spent on them, if that makes sense, because I
yeah.
think they look
You gotta go
cheesy as
for big
fuck.
elaborate
Yeah,
animatronics rather than yeah,
yeah, I think that would have done better. I think a lot of the story, the problem is Quiet Place doesn't work as even as a horror house for me. It really doesn't.
yeah,
It's the most scary thing in the Quiet Place was a cat that apparently didn't make any noise. Of course, that wasn't in this because that was the prequel movie.
yeah. So speaking of Quiet Place, that's actually my number six. So
Interesting.
quite good, great segue there. The puppets were good. The puppets for Quiet Place were pretty well executed. The people in the masks didn't really work that much, but when it was a puppet, it did kind of work. So you had a big head popping out of something rather than the whole length body. So, what are you
Right,
giggling at?
and no, don't worry about it. New PC film mostly. I've said to
Yeah.
Joe we've got to be a bit more polite on this show. Number six. It's funny enough. It's your number seven. Monstrous, the monsters of Latin America, and it would have probably gone up maybe two places of that. But that end scene was so bad. I
Yeah.
I am going to be a critic, and it's like going out for a dinner. If you have a starter, a mains, and a dessert, if the first two are nice and the dessert's crap, you're going to remember the dessert because it was the last thing you ate.
Yeah. Yeah. I know where you're coming from. So, like saying I didn't like the beginning where it's using that sound stage, and you didn't like the end. So, quite interesting. That it's stuck in the middle for both of us.
Jeez,
So
wait.
on to number five. Number five for me, it had to be here because I couldn't put it any higher. Was Triplets of Terror for me,
That's
and it's
very
mainly
nice of
due
you.
to the Unmasking the Horror tour. It just it sent it up. It was the Bloodhouse. It was the Bloodhouse of the event. There was literally blood everywhere. So I'm all for lots of blood. And if you are squeamish and you do like dogs, unfortunately, it did upset a few people. But
Actually, no, that's what I think I'll give them this year. Monstrous and that one. They actually went for it.
oh yeah,
Babies and dogs.
yeah,
Well done.
yeah. Well, that was one of the rooms we couldn't take pictures in of the dog just in case
Yeah.
because they don't want to upset people. But when our tour guy came through and says, "Yeah, you're going to see a dog, and then you're going to see the other part of the dog, and it's literally hanging in your face," and when you realise that, it does, um, yeah, upset a few people. So yeah, that was my number five. What yours,
Right,
mate?
five for me, and this was because the Unmasking the Horror tour put it higher for me. Was Major Sweets Candy Factory. I love Miss Sweets. The bit would bug me. I don't think near the van. She didn't pop out enough in that. Did you ever see it?
Who, sorry?
The van part. The doors open and she pops out.
No, never saw it.
See, no, that's a problem because I saw it once, so I knew about it. But I didn't get told about it asking her, but I couldn't because you saw the carving knives and all that stuff there. She opens the door and comes out. I can't remember what she has in her hand, but maybe it's a chainsaw. But she comes out of that, and it was not enough. So I can imagine a lot of people miss that. Obviously, because I'm asking the horror talk, I'm getting shown more stuff pointed out to me, not just the
Yeah,
story, but I'm looking at more details than other people. So when I'm going through, I've got this massive smile. When I first went through it before the I'm asking the horror, it was lower. But I'm
yeah,
asking the horror helped me because they're like, look up here, look there, press this here, that there, look at this where they would pop out here. The hammers, I love the hammer, the old effect they brought back with the hammers
yeah,
over the top, all that stuff. So it made me, it had old HHN scare vibes in it, what they haven't used for years. What kind of shocked me because I didn't know they haven't used the hammers for years. But little details like that. Yeah, again, that's why we're becoming advocates now. The unmasking the horror tours.
yeah, yeah. We definitely are. I did like the triggers in this, but I can't move it up the list just
I like
because
the
of
rats.
the activate guest activated triggers.
Do you know why the sweet one was done with Pick Me?
What?
So we were told, this sweet one at the beginning,
Yeah,
where it says Pick Me in the room where Major Sweets is and Taffy and that. It's to do with people stealing all the time. So they've made a joke out of it because they know people are going
mm,
to touch stuff. That's why they made that one of the triggers. What you would go,
yeah.
people would pass and then you would touch it, and then
Well,
air
I
would come
think
out.
the last trigger one I saw that worked really really well was when it was in Saw, and I know a lot of people hated that house when it came out, but it was literally just a red button on the side. You hit it, and you set off Old Smoky, electrocuting somebody. So it was that was a good effect.
See,
But
you just remind me they had the. Is it this one they had the electric shock in as well? Was that one? I can't
but
remember what house that was now. When they were pretending to electrocute people. Well, maybe that was
oh
Hello Scream. I can't remember. I'm getting them mixed up.
yeah,
Maybe.
I don't remember seeing they had the electric one last year. Um, I can't remember the house, but I do remember it last year because it was going against the lot because that's a
I'm sure.
butcher's.
No, I think it did happen in Slaughter Cinema. They had a taser gun sort of thing, taser. And they would open the thing and pretend to tase you. I think it was in Slaughter Cinema.
Well, I don't remember seeing that. But if we are wrong, let us know on our socials. Happy days. So number four for me, it was my number one. It did drop a little bit. Was Goblin's Feast. I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was a great house. And big. Obviously, I think we're past spoiler territory now. If you are going to go through it and you've not been through it yet, just look behind the Goblin Feast sign and see what it says. It's a nice little Easter egg. Uh,
Another Easter egg in there as well,
yeah.
in that first room.
Mm. But
For our basket the horror, I'll tell you about it when we get to my list.
yeah. So I actually got to get going on my screen. I didn't do the tour inside, but I did go and we did go and have a look at the facade and took pictures of that outside because we was early into um our house we were supposed to go into. So went through the new I think old car park, the building, making a massive car park at the back for staff. So anyway, so you're
Okay,
number
number
four then, my
four,
friend.
Slaughter Cinema 2. This was obviously my number one on the hype. I just feel like you couldn't live up to the first. The first is the greatest ever.
Mm.
I overhyped it for myself. The 3D room, I never remembered to bring the 3D glasses things with me, so I never got to see him in
Yeah,
3D. I think that's a stupid thing, really, to have that effect in there if people ain't going to use it. Um, so that takes it down for me. Some of the rooms were too small. I felt like the um, the skull um, bikers too small, and the pole room, the mummy's pole room, are very too small.
yeah. Well, we it looked bigger than it actually said because obviously the mirrors and the effects that it did in
Yeah,
it. But I think it did a good job of showing you a quick snippet of a B movie. Yeah, the Rockers were the big highlight of what they were trying to push across, but they were better franchise. That obviously the Jester Hotel, or what was it, Mardi Gras Murders, was the actual
Yeah,
supposedly the film.
yeah, I
Now
love that.
that could
That'd be a
make
good
a
house
really good house.
and movie.
Yeah. So that I think would, and I have to give it up. I didn't mention it earlier on, but the Jaws area, the Jaws scene,
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was brilliant.
that that Jaws, well, puppet, because it was a puppet. We actually got
It's
to
a
see,
puppet.
well, we got to see behind it, and I tell you what, mate, it's a fucking big piece of machinery. I'm surprised they must have had because it's a lot of weight. And then when we went through the unmasking, she did notice something new was a mat on the floor for its bottom jaw because it looks like they were smashing the jaw on the floor. So they've had to put like
Ah,
a black mat on the floor to stop the jaw bouncing.
yeah. Again, that
But
room was slightly too small. If we had a bit longer lead up to that bit with the shark,
yeah,
would have
but it
been
was also
brilliant.
you also didn't realise there was actually some kicking feet. That's why the shark was coming out because everyone's looking at the shark, but behind you up on the roof, there was actually animatronic feet kicking,
Yeah,
which
never
didn't
saw 'em.
actually. Yeah, but they work. They only work for a couple every so often. And it was a nice little touch. But obviously, you're too busy looking at a shark rather than
Question:
yeah.
is it worth having a nice little touch like that if no one's going to see him? Where you could probably spend that money somewhere else.
Uh, maybe, but it also gives repeat offenders, well, repeat goers something else to look at. Because why is that shark coming out? That shark's not coming for you because you're walking through. It's going for the actual uh the the swimmer. That's what it's coming out to get. Because you're not in the movie, are you? You're seeing part of the movie. So it makes sense when you do the unmasking and they explain it all. And that's why I think from now on I think we'll be doing the unmasking on all the houses.
I plan to do 6 and 3 next year. If I went, actually, saying that, I say I'm going to do 6 and 3 next year, but this reminds me, I'm not
Yeah,
going
go for it.
next year.
Oh,
I
I'm
keep on
going.
forgetting, I'm not going. I'm taking a year off, and in a future episode, I will explain why.
Anyway, so that was number four, wasn't it? Or Joe number four. Yeah.
Well, you're my number 4, yes, we're down to
Right,
three,
so we
two,
are
and one.
now into our top threes, and I'll just go slightly off topic here. We'll go to Julie's number three, which is give me a top
For
three.
people who don't know who Julie is, that is
Yeah,
Simon's better half.
yeah. And Julie's number three probably surprised Phil quite a lot. This one was at Triplets of Terror.
Look, nothing surprises me with Julie.
She's just she actually enjoyed it because of the dog. The dog being split in two. Don't go on. But yeah,
Oh dear.
that was Julie's.
Julie, please have your own YouTube channel. Simon knows what I mean.
I know. So I'll go to my number three, which was Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire.
Nice little
It
rise for
wasn't
you
the
there.
best because it wasn't scary, but the aesthetics of the house were fantastic. It was enjoyable to walk through. Even like I said, when we went through the house a couple of times and some of the scare actors are missing, I still enjoyed it. Um, yeah, and I think I explained most of it on that on the uh, our go through list. So yeah, number three, Ghostbusters for me.
Number 3 was Goblin's Feast for me. This a lot to do with the unmasking of the horror. So there was more stuff on it. So in the first room, what's the pub?
Yeah.
Call it a bar in America. It's a
Well,
pub.
it's
It definitely looked more
small
like a
house.
pub. It was more like a, yeah, whatever way. But there's, you see that head on the wall?
Hmm.
That is the head from the Walking Dead houses. I can't remember what character it is, but it's been used in houses every year at Horror Night since. It's always hidden in one of the houses. So
Ah, okay.
little touches like that. Obviously, most people wouldn't know that, but it got pointed out to us. I thought the monsters looked brilliant in this. I feel like they spent a little bit of money, but kind of cheesy as well at the same time. That it felt
Mm.
like Doctor Who sort of monster looking things. I think it needed more smell in there. Right? That's why it dropped a bit. And my biggest gripe was it just wasn't big enough for me. I could have had a bigger house. I thought everything aesthetically looked amazing in there. It was a beautiful looking house. And yeah, it's just too short for me. Them new tents feel small to me.
Mm.
I don't know if it's just me, but they felt small to me. And I think this deserved a soundstage. And that's the only reason it probably
Yeah.
hasn't made it into the top 2.
Yeah, maybe. But I think they did the best with what they've got. Plus, I don't think they were utilizing all the house. Um, because you came out the side rather than the back. That makes
Before we
sense.
get to our top two,
Hmm.
the one thing I hated about them two tents around there would have been Universal Monsters and Goblins. And one thing I loved, one was the walk to them, just because it was just a
Mm.
long walk. But two, what I did like was plain and simple. They were right next to each other. You could do one and then literally just walk right back round and do the second one in a matter
Yeah,
of seconds. That was brilliant.
that was a good idea, but they need to look at getting some form of ventilation around there if they possibly can. If you wonder what we're laughing, Phil just cut out because he just had a major technical fault. What
I
were we
pressed
talking about?
things on the camera and made it spin around and you saw my messy bedroom.
What was that about then? I'm confused.
We were talking about Monsters and Goblins Feast, how we liked how both houses
Yeah,
were next to
they
each other.
need to sort some ventilation out on that car park because there were people passing out
Also, when
quite
it
a
pees down
lot.
with rain, the car park queue area
Mm.
was very bad for flooding. Only happened my first couple of days, and after that it was dry. But what do they do for the other 10 houses? Just do that little ramp floor, don't they?
Yeah, they've actually built them, like, actually lifted them up off the ground now. So they're about a foot off the ground. So when water does flood in, it can just wash underneath. Oh, but it is what it is. So our number twos. So Julie's number
Ooh,
two,
number two.
Ghostbusters.
She's
I
a
think you could tell it
woman
was
of
going to be
good taste.
Ghostbusters. For me, it was Slaughter Cinema 2. I think it actually did carry on the lineage of Slaughter Cinema, and I enjoyed it. And obviously, the unmasking the horror tour behind it actually massively sent it upwards for me as well. Because the things you found out about the event and the posters, because that's the problem with that house is we couldn't take pictures of any of the posters, and I wish I could, because there's so many Easter eggs on there from staff members, cast members, people who used to work there in the past, and it was just so many Easter eggs everywhere.
I can't remember what house they did that in another house as well. Oh, monstrous! I said, "Who are all these people in the photos?" And they were staff members, their
Mm.
families, ex-staff members.
Yeah, and one thing they did say, you can take pictures of anything in Slaughter Cinema, but you couldn't take pictures of the posters, which is kind of annoying, even though
Do you imagine
she
if they
did say,
sold them?
well, that's what I think they were looking at doing, but then some idiot decided to take pictures of them all and stuck them all on the internet anyway.
Yeah,
So,
but they still sold them because people like me would have bought them. Talking about posters,
yeah.
people on YouTube world. I do have the tribute store. Well, I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Oh, I love
Tribute
this
store.
camera. Yeah, I've got
Mm.
that. When I read, because this here is all going to be changing. Maybe this is going to be put up. I've got a few things coming from Timu as well.
Hmm.
And I'm going to get some new LED lights for the next season of this show. I think we've got a couple of more episodes to go this season. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's me talking waffling on. Shut up, Phil.
Yeah. So, Phil, you're number two, my friend.
Frozen Empire.
Yeah. So I
I
think we
loved
know
it.
where we're all going.
I love this
So,
house. I think it was brilliant. As my dog's farted again. I do wonder if this is a flea tablet that's affecting him.
probably.
Now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I love this house. They gave you everything. I enjoyed the first Ghostbusters house. I liked this one more. It
Mm.
gave me the stuff the first one didn't give me. I think the first one I liked the library room better in that one, and Janine at the beginning because the lady
Yeah.
actress, she was brilliant. But the rest of it was absolutely fantastic. And again, unmasking the horror, you got pointing things out to you like the mini states paths with the pencils from very some rude ones as well you may not know about.
Mm.
um all that sort of stuff. It was brilliant seeing the outside of the building for the firehouse was brilliant. I loved how they did that. I loved that little room. I got loads of photos in that room. Loved seeing Ecto One, half of Ecto One, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Loved seeing all the different type of proton packs and traps in and around. If you didn't look for them, you wouldn't have seen them. I loved this house. Now it's weird because I love horror, and two of my top three is not very horror.
Mm, yeah.
But at the same time, the ones what they did do a lot of horror in just were a mess of houses. So it's a fine art. I've now realised of getting it right. Talk about art, Universal. I know you listen to us. Art the Clown. Do
Well,
it.
do it. Well, let's see how many people pass out on Terrify 3 or when they find out Terrify 4's been greenlit
Well,
as well.
well, Terrifier 3 was brilliant for me. I watched it at cinema. I wasn't worried because I knew what it was about, so I expected all the murders. My favourite
Hmm.
murder, if people are wondering, is the young lad in the shower with a chainsaw. Not saying any more because I don't want to spoil it for people. I told my mate Paul to look out for it when he saw it. He said, "Oh, what a scene that was as well." No one left my screen, but I like turning around and have a look, and you had people hiding in their coats, hands, in their
It's what
mouths.
horror should be.
Yeah,
It's what
that's what a proper horror movie is about. It's not about big ghosts and that kind of. It's
mm,
just gore, guts, galore. That's
yeah.
what I love.
So
Back to the horror
yeah,
nights
there
properly.
you go. Well, I think we can just say this for Julie, myself, and you. I think we all know what our number one is, and
Care
I don't
Bears.
think it's a surprise from anyone. It was Thomas the Tank.
I had Care Bears. You had Thomas Attack,
Um,
and
yeah,
Julie had Postman Pat.
yeah. It's Insidious, the further. Um, it was the creme de la creme of some good houses, but this one, it had the scares, it had decent sets, the actors were on point. They hit all the notes, and they seemed like they were enjoying themselves.
I'll tell you now.
Mm.
This was Joe's hype on this. He loves the movies like me. What
Joe's gonna drop on the floor. Joe's gonna fall to the floor if he gets
Joe
ping
is,
ponged.
Joe's gonna get scared. Joe's going to cry at the end of fear and pure joy. He is going to love his house. And Joe, and hopefully you haven't listened to the podcast
Yeah.
before you do these houses, but once you've listened to this, you're going to be going, yes, lads, I totally agree. This house was everything, as Simon alluded to earlier, horror, bloody nights, not family
Mm.
nights. I would have three houses on this level of scares.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the rest of them have to be, but this is where three of the houses should be. Everything was brilliant. The scare actors look brilliant. I loved the room with when they come out, you all the big demons and that
Mhm.
one after another, bang, 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 bang at you.
The
That
pinball.
was absolutely hearing the song tiptoe. What I didn't
Yeah.
realize all these years, what a sad story that song is. The guy who sang it.
Oh yeah.
Look, yeah, check that one up. I didn't realize it was a guy for a few years, to tell you the truth. But yeah, the sad story of his life and everything. That song, wow, it is kind of creepy. So it does fit the movie brilliant. It makes me look forward to the next Insidious movie, and then hopefully we'll get another Insidious house down the line. Not three
No,
years, three
probably
years.
yeah, 3 4 years, and that's what we'll do. So that's it, guys. You've got our top 10. So our overall thing of the event, which we spoke about
Can we hold
this.
that?
What?
Can we hold that from when Joe's on?
What?
What we overall our event
Yeah, of
view
course we
of
can. Yeah.
the event. I think we should hold that for another episode because this has been good about our list. So what
Yeah.
I think we'll do Joe's list, and on that episode as well, we'll talk about what we think was lacking and what
Yeah, I
wasn't
would. Yeah,
lacking.
what we'll do, our general thoughts on what the
Yeah.
event was, and then how it can be improved or what they can do to make it worse. Because there is a lot of things they can do a lot worse.
Oh yeah, it's not the worst Halloween Horror Nights event. It's not the best. There's a
They've
hint.
done some things better this year than last year, but it's some stuff from last year that I wish was still here for this year.
And
But
there's
that's
some
a
things
little teaser.
pre-COVID still.
Yeah, well, yeah, we need to go back to that, but that's 5 years. That's 5 years in the past, isn't it now? 4 years, 5 years,
Look,
whatever it is.
I get it. Before anybody starts going this, I understand Epic has taken a lot of money from Universal, but as far as I care, Epic opens next year. There should be the right amount of money for Horror Nights next year. There
Well,
won't be. It'd probably be the year after.
it'll probably be the
Um,
year after now.
yeah,
The next year you're going.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. So when we do Joe's list, it's going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly of Horror Nights and what level we think it is. Was it an
Yeah.
epic level event? Was it a mid level? Or was it scarily bad?
Yeah. And what we'll do also after this has been released and the event has finished, follow us on Instagram and Twitter because I'm going to try and put pictures of the Unmasking the Horror Tour on every
Yeah,
single day.
what I'm going to do, Simon, I'm going to send them over to you, my ones, because
Yeah.
then you can choose which ones to go through.
Well, what we'll
So,
do, we'll try and do it for like up to the next event. We'll release one picture every single day on our socials for you to enjoy unmasking to see if you want to do it again. Because I'm definitely going to be doing the 6 house and the 3 house next year. Phill
yeah,
won't be
so,
because he's not going to be there. He'll do the year
yes,
after. So yeah,
I could be
it's
somewhere,
some
just not there.
well,
Ooh,
India.
spoilers. Ooh, spoilers, who knows? Horror's everywhere, people. Horror is
You go to the
everywhere.
West Coast by any chance?
Mm, Maybe I'm
No.
going somewhere where they're great at kung fu. Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, Hong Kong for it.
Well,
Anyway,
that's as
guys.
Glass Castles.
So yeah, so like I said, guys, follow us on our socials: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at HHEPod, at HHEPod1 on TikTok. And like I
Nice.
said, if you and please, if you do watch this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and also just be nice.
Also, one more thing. Follow me, YouTube, Phil G Travel. Loads of Orlando vlogs coming out, funny enough.
Yeah, and there'll be some
And
Halloween Horror Nights ones on there as well.
and TikTok as well. There's loads of stuff. And yeah, and Simon, did you any recording at HHN?
I do some evening, nighttime video
I think
recording
I've got
bit, though.
I think I've got some of the houses at Hello Scream as well. I did
Yeah.
that event. We'll bring that up on another podcast. But if they look good enough, I will put them up on the HHE podcast YouTube channel instead of my own one.
Yeah. Well, if you keep your eye on YouTube as well, because I possibly will be doing something for Scare City, in
Okay,
November.
cool event.
So that's it.
November.
Hmm?
He's following me to Tenerife in November, isn't he, lad? That lad,
Yeah.
he's following me.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Be nice to each other. And what do you usually say?
I can't
Stay.
remember. It's stay epic, but it used to be something. I put the see you in your nightmares and stay epic. I think.
Yeah. And then, as Joe would say, good night and sweet screams. And for
And
me,
Simon would.
tatty fucking bye bye.
He's gonna have a new one next year. We're gonna figure it out.
Oh, I'm sticking with that.
Only if he keeps it as Tatty fucking bye bye.
Enjoy horror and get drunk.
There you go. That's it. You got it. Done. End the episode, Simon. Kill us.
I can't do that. That's your job.
No, but you say the goodbye rubbish, whatever.
Bye.
Just do it properly. There you go. Bye.
The moving walkway exit is approaching. Please watch your step.